The glittering landscape of Hollywood has always been built on an unspoken bargain with time, perfection, and the relentless pursuit of an idealized self. For decades, the public has consumed the flawless images of its favorite stars, viewing them through the pristine lens of silver screens and glossy magazine covers, rarely pausing to consider the profound vulnerabilities hidden just beneath the surface. We see the confidence, the effortless charm, and the striking features that define a generation of entertainment, assuming that such beauty was effortlessly bestowed by nature. Yet behind the scenes, the pressure to maintain a certain standard of aesthetic excellence can become an overwhelming burden, driving even the most naturally gifted individuals to make choices that alter the course of their lives and careers forever. It is a world where a single flaw can feel like a catastrophic failure under the burning heat of the spotlight, and where the desire to fix that flaw can lead down a complex path of unexpected consequences, hidden anxieties, and desperate measures. Before we dive deeper into this fascinating exploration of fame, insecurity, and the secrets behind some of the most recognizable faces in television history, please take a quick moment to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode of our deep dives into the untold stories of your favorite icons. The story of celebrity transformations often begins in the quiet, formative years long before the cameras start rolling, in the mundane and sometimes cruel environments of ordinary childhoods, where words can wound deeper than physical injuries. It is during these early years that the seeds of lifelong insecurity are frequently planted, growing silently in the shadows of a future star's mind until they are thrust into the unforgiving gaze of the public eye. When a young person transitions from the relative obscurity of youth to the intense scrutiny of a major television production, every minor detail of their appearance is suddenly magnified 1,000 times over, subjected to the judgment of millions of viewers and industry executives alike. The psychological toll of this sudden transition is immense, creating a fragile inner reality that stands in stark contrast to the confident, heroic personas portrayed on screen, forcing individuals to confront their deepest doubts while trying to project an aura of absolute perfection. This delicate balance between public adoration and private self-doubt has defined the trajectories of countless cultural icons, setting the stage for dramatic decisions made in the name of professional survival and personal validation. In the vibrant and competitive entertainment industry of the early 1980s, a new wave of talent was emerging, eager to capture the hearts of audiences and secure their place in the annals of pop culture history. Among them was a charismatic young actor whose striking presence and undeniable talent quickly caught the attention of casting directors, leading to a breakthrough role on one of the most prominent daytime dramas of the era. This sudden rise to prominence brought with it an unprecedented level of attention, transforming a regular young man into a household name almost overnight, while simultaneously amplifying the lingering doubts he had carried since his school days. The glare of the studio lights and the high-definition demands of the television medium had a way of exposing what the actor perceived as a significant flaw, an imperfection that seemed to overshadow his hard work and dedication to his craft. This growing fixation on a specific physical trait eventually reached a breaking point, prompting a decision that was intended to bring clarity and confidence but instead initiated a turbulent chapter of medical missteps and aesthetic anxiety. The journey that followed serves as a compelling reminder of the human element behind the glamorous facade of celebrity, illustrating how easily the pursuit of perfection can go awry when guided by the pressures of an industry that demands nothing less than the flawless ideal. As this young performer navigated the early heights of his newfound fame, the contrast between his rising professional success and his deepening personal dissatisfaction created a profound tension that could not be easily ignored. Every appearance on television, every promotional photo shoot, and every interaction with fans became a reminder of the specific feature he wished to change, driving him toward a fateful choice during a production hiatus. The initial attempt to correct the perceived imperfection did not yield the triumphant results he had envisioned, leaving him in a state of heightened anxiety and distress as he looked in the mirror and saw an altered version of himself that felt entirely alien. This pivotal moment of realization, where the remedy proved to be more problematic than the original concern, forced the actor to seek out an extraordinary solution, leading him directly to the inner circle of one of the most famous and enigmatic figures in global music history. By connecting with the specialized medical professional responsible for shaping the iconic look of the era's greatest pop superstar, the actor entered a rarefied world of high-stakes cosmetic artistry, setting the stage for a dramatic resolution that would ultimately define his appearance for the rest of his legendary career. The rapid ascent of John Stamos in the early 1980s marked the beginning of a true Hollywood phenomenon, as his striking looks and effortless charm made him an instant sensation on the hit daytime drama General Hospital. Joining the main cast of such a massive television powerhouse in 1982 meant that his face was suddenly beamed into millions of households across the nation 5 days a week, cementing his status as a rising heartthrob. Yet, beneath the glittering exterior of his newfound fame, Stamos was carrying a deep-seated vulnerability that traced back to a painful childhood memory and the cruel taunts of his school peers. Years before he ever stepped foot onto a Hollywood set, a freak accident had fundamentally altered his perception of his own face when he was struck directly in the countenance by a flying golf club. The impact broke his nose, leaving behind a noticeable structural shift and a small scar that would serve as a permanent reminder of the trauma. In the harsh environment of a schoolyard, children can be notoriously unforgiving, and it did not take long for his classmates to weaponize this physical imperfection, cruelly branding him with the nickname Big Nose Stamos. This relentless bullying left an indelible mark on the young man's psyche, embedding a profound sense of self-consciousness that no amount of early acting success could easily erase. When he finally transitioned into the professional world of television, the intense scrutiny of the cameras and the omnipresent studio lighting only served to magnify this old insecurity, transforming a private doubt into an agonizing daily fixation. Every time he watched his own performances back or looked at promotional stills, all he could see was the asymmetry of his nose, convinced that it detracted from his performance and compromised his potential as a leading man. This overwhelming pressure eventually drove him to take matters into his own hands, deciding that the only way to truly move forward in his career and find peace of mind was to undergo a surgical procedure to alter his appearance. Taking advantage of a scheduled production hiatus from General Hospital, Stamos quietly scheduled a rhinoplasty, fully expecting that the operation would finally free him from the ghosts of his childhood and grant him the flawless visage he desired. However, the reality of cosmetic surgery rarely aligns perfectly with the grand expectations of the patient, and when the bandages were finally removed, the young actor was met with a wave of profound disappointment and shock. Instead of the refined masculine profile he had envisioned, the results of this initial botched nose job left his features looking bizarrely altered, giving him an appearance that he would later describe as being pushed up like Peter Pan. The delicate balance of his facial features had been entirely disrupted, leaving him with a look that felt deeply unnatural and vastly different from the handsome image he needed to maintain for his high-profile television role. Rather than resolving his long-standing anxieties, this medical misstep amplified them to an unprecedented degree, plunging him into a state of acute panic as he realized he had to return to the set of a major television show looking drastically different. The fear of public ridicule and the potential devastation of his burgeoning career loomed large, forcing him to recognize that he could not leave his face in this unsatisfactory state and desperately needed a master correction. It was during this period of intense distress that Stamos made a bold and highly unconventional decision, resolving to bypass standard medical channels and seek out the absolute highest tier of aesthetic expertise available in the entertainment industry. He reasoned that if he was going to successfully salvage his famous good looks and correct a botched procedure, he needed a surgeon who possessed an unparalleled understanding of high-stakes facial sculpting and Hollywood aesthetics. This line of thinking naturally led him to consider the master craftsman operating at the very pinnacle of pop culture, specifically the medical professional who was currently orchestrating the most famous physical evolution in the world. At that exact moment in cultural history, the global music landscape was being utterly dominated by Michael Jackson, whose legendary Thriller album was redefining entertainment and whose changing physical appearance was captivating the global public. Rumors and fascination surrounded the pop superstar's distinct aesthetic transformation, with the public tracking every subtle alteration to his facial structure as he transitioned into an otherworldly icon of pop perfection. Stamos realized that the visionary surgeon capable of handling the incredibly delicate task of resculpting Michael Jackson's face was precisely the caliber of professional he required to fix his own fractured confidence. The sheer audacity of a young daytime soap actor seeking out the personal plastic surgeon of the world's biggest pop star speaks volumes about the level of desperation and determination Stamos felt during this critical juncture. He managed to secure an appointment with this highly exclusive medical professional, entering a rarefied world where cosmetic alteration was elevated to a form of high-stakes contemporary art. The surgeon, who had already initiated Michael Jackson's early rhinoplasties in the late 1970s and early 80s, before the singer debuted his drastically slimmer nose in the iconic Thriller era, agreed to take on the challenge of repairing Stamos's face. This second, highly complex procedure would require an extraordinary level of precision, as the surgeon had to carefully undo the damage of the first operation while carving out a natural, appealing look that would withstand the scrutiny of millions of viewers. As Stamos prepared to go under the knife for the second time in a remarkably short span of time, he found himself reflecting deeply on the nature of the industry he inhabited and the true motivations behind his choices. Decades later, when reflecting on this turbulent period in his best-selling 2023 memoir, titled If You Would Have Told Me, Stamos would display a refreshing and rare level of candor regarding the entire ordeal. Unlike many of his Hollywood contemporaries who frequently invent elaborate medical excuses or structural breathing issues to justify their cosmetic procedures, Stamos chose to shatter the traditional celebrity narrative. He openly admitted that his decisions were driven by pure vanity and the intense desire to look good on television, refusing to hide behind the classic rationalization of a deviated septum or a sudden breathing difficulty. He acknowledged that everyone who gets a nose job tries to find some noble or functional excuse, but he insisted on calling it exactly what it was, acknowledging the superficial pressures of the star system. This brutal honesty highlighted the immense psychological weight that young performers face when thrust into a world where their literal face is their primary currency and any perceived flaw can feel like a career-ending disaster. The impending second surgery represented a monumental gamble for the young actor, as a failure to correct the botched look could permanently alter the trajectory of his life and prevent him from ever achieving the mainstream success that lay just ahead on the horizon. The tension was palpable as the date of the corrective procedure arrived, with Stamos fully aware that he had graduated from being the hopeful, youthful newcomer on General Hospital to the double nose job guy in less than a single calendar year on the air. The high-stakes gamble of entering the operating room for a second corrective surgery ultimately paid off in ways that would redefine the entire trajectory of John Stamos' life, transforming a potential career disaster into the definitive foundation of his legendary Hollywood image. When the specialized surgeon, who had honed his craft on the most famous face on the planet, completed the intricate task of reconstruction, the results were nothing short of miraculous. The unnatural pushed-up look that had mirrored Peter Pan was successfully replaced with a refined, balanced, and timelessly handsome profile that felt completely organic to Stamos' natural bone structure. This newly sculpted visage not only restored his fractured self-confidence, but effectively unlocked the door to the next major chapter of his professional journey, allowing him to step out from the insular world of daytime soap operas and into the mainstream primetime spotlight. It was this corrected, iconic look that audiences would fall in love with just a few years later when he landed the career-defining role of Uncle Jesse Katsopoulos on the immensely popular sitcom Full House. For 8 seasons, from 1987 to 1995, Stamos' character became a cultural touchstone, celebrated globally for his cool demeanor, rock and roll attitude, and undeniably perfect aesthetic appeal. The irony was profound, as the very feature that had caused him so much childhood torment and early professional panic had now become a central component of his trademark look. Universally adored by millions of fans who had absolutely no inkling of the medical drama that had unfolded behind the scenes. This journey from the cruel schoolyard taunts of Big Nose Stamos to becoming one of the most celebrated television heartthrobs of the modern era illustrates the strange, unpredictable alchemy of fame and the immense power of resilience in an industry that often discards those who falter. By sharing this deeply personal narrative decades later in his 2023 memoir, Stamos did more than just recount an amusing Hollywood anecdote. He pulled back the curtain on the hidden mechanics of celebrity culture, offering a rare glimpse into the shared vulnerabilities of the industry's elite. The connection to Michael Jackson's legendary 80s plastic surgeon adds an extraordinary layer of pop culture convergence to the story. bridging the worlds of daytime television and global music royalty through a shared pursuit of aesthetic perfection. Michael Jackson himself was navigating a deeply complex and highly publicized physical transformation during that exact same era, an evolution that fascinated and perplexed the global public for decades. While Jackson publicly maintained throughout his life that he had only undergone 2 minor rhinoplasties and a later procedure to create a cleft chin, attributing other dramatic changes to natural growth, weight loss, and the onset of severe skin conditions, the public narrative was always shrouded in intense speculation. Following Jackson's tragic passing in 2009 at the age of 50, his mother, Katherine Jackson, openly shared her belief that her son had actually undergone significantly more cosmetic operations than he ever officially admitted to. Driven by his own deep-seated childhood traumas and the relentless pressure of a lifetime in the global spotlight. This parallel underscores a profound and sobering truth about the nature of extreme fame, demonstrating that whether you were the biggest pop star on earth or a rising young actor on a daytime drama, the psychological weight of public scrutiny could drive individuals to extraordinary lengths to alter how they presented themselves to the world. The stark difference between the two icons lay in how they ultimately managed and contextualized their transformations over the passing decades. While Jackson's aesthetic journey became an increasingly complex, surreal, and sometimes tragic focal point of his public persona, Stamos managed to find a sense of equilibrium and peace with his results, allowing his appearance to settle into a mature, naturally aging elegance that continued to secure him major roles in television, theater, and music. Today, at 62 years old, Stamos looks back on those turbulent decisions of his youth not with shame or regret, but with a grounded, witty, and deeply mature perspective that can only come from decades of sustained success and personal growth. His recent appearance on the Really Good podcast with Bobby Althoff showcased this exact blend of humor and self-awareness, as he unreservedly pointed out his nose and joked about the entire double nose job saga with an authenticity that thoroughly endeared him to a whole new generation of digital viewers. This willingness to laugh at his past insecurities and openly label his motivations as pure vanity stands as a refreshing anomaly in a modern culture that remains deeply obsessed with artificial perfection and filtered realities. It serves as a powerful reminder that behind the immaculate facades of our favorite stars lie very real human beings who have stumbled, felt inadequate, and made desperate choices to fit into an unforgiving mold. By humanizing his own journey, Stamos has redefined what it means to be a Hollywood heartthrob, proving that true charm and lasting appeal do not stem from a flawlessly sculpted face, but from the honesty, vulnerability, and resilience required to own one's entire story, imperfections and all. Ultimately, the tale of the young actor who turned to a pop star surgeon to salvage his good looks stands as a classic Hollywood parable, an entertaining yet deeply insightful exploration of the lengths to which people will go to heal old wounds and survive the crushing expectations of the spotlight. It connects the dots between childhood bullying, the high-stakes pressure of television production, and the elite world of celebrity medicine, weaving them into a cohesive narrative about the enduring human search for acceptance and confidence. As the credits roll on this chapter of television history, John Stamos remains a beloved, enduring figure precisely because he chose to break the code of silence, allowing the world to see that even the most picture-perfect lives are often built on a foundation of hidden struggles, bold corrections, and the ultimate triumph of self-acceptance.